fear by nature is selfish because of the ego. And almost every fear that we have, every fear that I have is, if I didn't have fear, then could I truly appreciate that fear is a valid human emotion? The sustenance is what we give it. When we operate in that fear is what gives. When we have the courage to do things regardless of the fear or in spite of the fear, like, we can use that fear to drive us to growth. Here's the thing about fear, is everybody has the fear. And anybody who tells you that fear doesn't exist in them and they don't have it and they're just like these brave people that are running around and is just like, woo, I'm fearless, that's bullshit. It's not true, because humans have fear. Without fear, how can you know love? And so I'm going to get into both sides of this coin. Like, what does it look like to have no fear, or what does it look like to have fear and utilize that to drive you in a certain direction? And then what does it look like to have fear and be a victim to it? So my name is Johnathon Kiebler, and I've been looking to grow and evolve for the better part of 10, 11 years, over a decade. And I'm going to bring these through my experiences, my challenges, and my successes, and also some of the things that I've learned through reading or whatever. So let's talk about this whole fear thing. Is like, we as human beings have fear. It's part of our makeup, right? And a lot of people say, oh man, this is low on the consciousness scale and we have to rise above that. And although that is true, we do have to rise above the fear. We're not going to live without fear, because fear is a part of this reality. It's an innate part of who we are. And as long as we have an ego, that fear is going to exist. Let's break that down. So I have a lot of fears in my life, but one particular fear is like not having a relationship with my kids. That is a huge fear for me. And I am a victim to this sometimes. And let me tell you how that works. Fear by nature is selfish because of the ego. And almost every fear that we have, every fear that I have, is driven by my ego, this idea. And like, some people you might be saying, well, what about whenever I fear for somebody else's safety? But that reverts back to, well, my fear of losing that person. It's selfish. So with these kids is like, when they start to pull away, my son is 15 years old, and like he's exploring his identity, who he is, and because it's what he's choosing to do. And there was a time where I was like, no, like, I want you to spend time with me. I want you to come and see me. Like, we have a schedule that we need to keep up to. And what I realized was, the more and more I operated within that fear and try to get him to come and hold true to his commitments. Like, I'm a father, I've got to teach him commitments and all that. But like, there was a couple times when he would come over, like, we have a dinner every once a week, and he wouldn't say a word. He was on his phone. He wanted to be somewhere else. And for somebody like me, where I'm like autopilot, we have to bring the mind back into the body, because that's the premise of this whole channel, is like bringing our mind into the body so we're not on autopilot and we're not distracted. We're merged into a unified individual to go through life with a certain level of awareness. Like, this was huge for me to be watching, like, dude, you are completely neglecting me. And it wasn't that, it was the fear that, man, we're not building a relationship. He doesn't love me. He doesn't want to be with me, which is correct, but not in the way that I was thinking. Like, he just wanted to be somewhere else. He has a girlfriend, whatever. And so my initial reaction is like, put your phone down, hang out with me. I'm going to pick you up on these days. You're going to have to come over here. And the fear that was driving me, that I was operating in, was literally manifesting in a way that, like, the more control I try to exert, the further away he would be pushed away from me. So it's insane to think about that, like whatever fear that I have, and I start to operate from that fear as my starting point, that I start to create that in reality just through my actions of like control, selfishness, whatever ideas that, whatever character, whatever rules of engagement I operate in. And that's what was happening, is like the fear of not having a relationship with my son was driving him away from wanting to have a relationship with me. And this happens in all sorts of things, like this idea of, let's say, financial insecurity, like where I'm afraid of not having any money, and so I start to hold on to as much money as I can. And by just focusing on not spending my money, I just slowly watch it dwindle away. Now, obviously, there's things that I can do to get money and whatever, but like my focus isn't on getting more money. My focus is on losing my money from fear. And this is how our reality, the way that we view it, really starts to shape because of our fears. But what's the flip side of this? Like, how do we use fear to an advantage? Because there's a book called The Book by Alan Watts, and I think chapter number 2, what he talks about is the game of black and white. And without darkness, there can be no light, right? Because all we would ever know is light, never darkness. And so the same can be true for love and fear. Without fear, there can be no love, or whatever you see this idea of duality for love. If we only lived in love, that's all we would ever know. And so there wouldn't be no meaning, no value to the love. And so we can reframe this idea of fear, rather than it be a place of operation where we operate in fear, to a place of encouragement to drive us in the other direction. This is an extremely powerful reframe, because we have to live with fear. Fear is a part of us. As I said in the beginning of the video, like we live in fear. And there are a lot of things in this world that perpetuate that fear, and we can be trapped by this, and we can operate in it, and we can be a victim to the idea of not getting what we want, or losing what we already have. Like all fears boil down to that, those two things. And so we can be a victim to the fear, or we can transmute it and realize that without the fear, there can be no love. Like both of these have to exist for us to truly find the value and the gratitude in what love really is. We have to find the value in love. And we do that by the fear. This idea of duality. Like without fear, there can be no love. And so if we let the fear drive us towards the love, then we can be healthy in that way. And so my experience with this fear-driven love, I guess you could say, I mean, that sounds kind of ludicrous, but like I get afraid all the time. Like I'm afraid of not having a relationship with my son. I'm afraid of the money issues. I am afraid that maybe I'll relapse and I'll go back to drugs and alcohol, or maybe like I'm not going to continue to grow. I'm going to be stuck in this victimhood my whole life. Like these are valid fears, and a lot of people have them. You may have some of them, you know, but the fear is an illusion. And I know that sounds like, dude, it's real, and it is real, but there's the sustenance is what we give it, what we feed it. When we operate in that fear is what gives it power. Now, bravery, let's say bravery is walking through fear. And so when we have the courage to do things regardless of the fear or in spite of the fear, like we can use that fear to drive us to growth, to be uncomfortable, to get out of our comfort zone, to really focus on how to outgrow it. How to outgrow it. Like, fear is a valid human emotion. And whoever says that they don't have any fear, I would like to have a conversation with them, because I want to know how not to have fear too. But on the same side, on the same coin, if I didn't have fear, then could I truly appreciate courage, bravery, love, joy, happiness if I didn't have the fear? And so fear is a weapon in a way for me to evolve, also to decondition, to declare who I want to be, because the only way I would declare something different is if I've experienced fear. So fear is a part of us, and we must harness that fear and utilize it to grow in a certain direction, whichever direction you choose, whichever I choose. But it's when I start being a victim to it and letting the fear run my actions that I start to create that fear in reality. And I suffer from it. And you probably have suffered from this as well. And the people around me suffer because of my idiocracy when it comes to like letting fear drive me. But I'm not immune to it. I'm not immune to the fear driving me. Like it has happened today. It happened yesterday. But I have awareness around it because like I've been recognizing these fears for a lot of years. And so they don't necessarily drive me in a way that's capturing, encapsulating me in the spider web. No, they're just, it's a opportunity for me to like really look and see why I have this fear. What do I need to look at? What part of my ego, what part of my identity is latching onto that fear? And how can I move and transmute it into a way to allow me to move into another direction? Like the fear can be healthy. And I think that I'm just going to leave it there, because like what more can be said? Everyone has fear, but we can transmute that fear into something that will perpetuate change, propel us to change, be a springboard to evolve, but only if you choose it. So I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Once we get to 500 subscribers, then I'll go live. We can have these live Q&As. So I would love to hear what y'all say. Subscribe to the channel, and then also check out some of the links below. One of the main premises of this channel is to bring our mind back into our body, break the autopilot, break patterns. So there's a free guide to breaking the autopilot. It's called Free Protocol. So go ahead and click that link. You're just going to ask you for your email, and then you can try it out. But it's only going to work if you actually try it and do the 8 steps that are on there. So I love y'all. Peace, and I will see you soon. Thanks so much.